Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Polly.
Hello. I have my candle in the back and I had to move it up closer.
Oh, gotta be close to your candle. Close to your candle.
I do. I really do.
It's good to see you.
You also. I hope everybody here or listening is having an amazing day.
That's right. I hope so too. You know, there's a lot of things going on. Always. There's always a lot going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot going on, right?
So there is.
I think that there's a lot happening, and we can choose to go with it, we can resist it, or we can make lemons out of lemonade. I mean, lemonade out of lemons.
We can do whatever we want.
Or we could do
whatever we want.
So what's going on in Arizona?
It's just nice. I mean, I've had it. Okay, here, I'll just share. I'm a little bit cranky today, and the reason I'm a little bit cranky is I woke up really early because I'm sure you've heard me say this, but when I have like the housekeepers come, I want to pick everything up so that they come in and clean and they're not tripping over, people's books, whatever. Got up early to do that, put the dogs at the doggy daycare, and they didn't show up.
Oh no.
I know, and I kind of tear my house apart for them, but I called and they're going to come this afternoon. So it's admittedly, it's not that big of a thing, but it's one of those, I think we all have that. If we pre-program ourselves, this is what's going to happen today, that, and it doesn't go the way I plan, I got a little cranky, but now I'm fine because I'm in my office and I love the energy in here.
So you're a cleaner for the cleaners.
I am a cleaner for the cleaners.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
I used to do that a long time ago. And I used to have somebody that comes in like once every couple of weeks and do things. And I used to always be like, uh-oh, what is that again? And I would clean for the cleaners. And then at some point in my life, and everyone that's here, welcome. If you're just coming in, say hello on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, or here on apps. And then got to a point where I was like, I realized that I was stressing out so much about when it was a guy that would come every couple of weeks to this apartment. I was stressing about it so much, and I was like, why are you stressing out? And I was like, oh, because I was worried to make sure that it was clean for the cleaner. And then that whole thing just hit me. I mean, maybe it hit me. I was like, Max, chill. You're paying for them to do this work. And so it just changed my whole way of thinking about it too. So, but I understand, I understand totally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to do it because I can't have like my kid who's 14 that leaves his crap throughout the house, a trail of where he's been. Like, he has to. So basically it's just like, okay, you've got to go pick your stuff, whatever, it's just life, right? It's just life. And admittedly, I know I'm super lucky. I have a cleaner, right?
Yeah, for sure. Hello, Christine. Thank you so much. If you don't know, maybe you didn't know, but we had a big, huge snowstorm here yesterday into today. And so it was really fun and really cool. I think that they said New York City got like 16 inches. So they were saying could be up to 22, but it kind of like it kind of stopped. But I think it really went on in Massachusetts and other places. So it's kind of a fun thing. I love the snow. I think it's really fun. And for the first time, the girls really got the snow. They sat at the window and they were like, what's going on? What's going on? So that was a really fun thing. So now we're just, it's still cold, so it's not melted completely, but getting around in melted snow, as a former Alaskan, you understand.
I do understand that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just went to the store and I was like, I'm walking in the street. I'm just going to walk in the street. First of all, there's not a lot of cars going on. And it was like trying to get through the corners where it's just like that much snow and you just get wet. And it was like, no, just walk in the street. It's easier. So that's kind of like what's going on for me. And My new 4-week challenge starts tonight. I'm really excited about that. Manifesting a Miracle Mindset. Got a whole bunch of people that are in it. So tonight we're starting that. It's for 4 weeks, and putting together a PowerPoint and everything that's just going to be fun and interesting and helping people to get into a miracle mindset. So it's a 4-week challenge, which I'm excited about.
I love that. And I know we're not going to touch this topic today, but maybe next week. You know, our mindset is so important on how we move through this world, right? It totally is a game changer. And this talks a little bit about our topic this week, but you know, if we're paying attention to our internal versus our external, because it's so easy to, you know, for me, I was cranky because about the housekeeper, big deal, right? But to take responsibility for our life, and we have to start on the inside, and people hear that all the time, but I would love to dive deeper into that and really share with people how to take responsibility for how they feel inside versus the extra, you know, right? Because every time we turn to the external, we're giving our power away.
That's right.
I would love to share more about that next week, because I think it's so important.
Well, that's kind of like what this whole challenge is about, what we're doing. So it's great. And I think it's a really great topic. I think it's really important because, like, you're right. You know, it's like we hear this stuff all the time, but like, how do you do that? And, you know, I don't know if you've ever heard my little, I got it from my old teacher, Michael Auger, but he says, think about responsibility as your ability to respond.
Yeah.
Which I really love. I kind of like that. So that's pretty cool. I love that. So, as most of us have been, you know, around the block a few times and been reading and been watching the news or not, you don't even have to be watching the news. You can be on any social media. I thought it would be a really great topic for us to talk about brainwashing. Yeah. And what brainwashing is, how we see brainwashing, how all of you see brainwashing. Please put in the chat what you think about it. And, you know, kind of the idea, in a way, is brainwashing good? Is brainwashing bad? And it might not be either one, but I just wanted to, we're kind of opening up a Pandora's box here a little bit, but let's go there. So let's talk about brainwashing. So what's the first thing that comes to your mind, Polly, when you think about brainwashing?
Well, honestly, Max, I think that, you know, that the term brainwashing is kind of strong, but, you know, to some degree, we are all brainwashed because it's how we're taught to expect certain things in our life, and right. So each culture has its own brainwashing as to what's normal, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think start from there, and it just is like, you know, we can be pre-programmed or programmed to expect certain things. It's so easy, right? And then the more you expect it, you know, of course, it's in your path. So that just is a natural occurrence. But I think looking beyond that and saying, okay, there are some people who really have this emptiness inside or are searching, but searching in not as healthy way, not searching out of curiosity or searching like a seeker, but more searching because they really feel a deficit inside. Those people, right, it's easier to influence them because however they're living their life isn't working, right? Mm-hmm. And so they are easier influenced to a new way of life. I would say that.
Yeah, I agree with you. For sure. Hello, Walt. Good to see you from Ireland. I completely agree with you. I think that but we have to look at brainwashing. You're right. Brainwashing is a very strong word. It is habituating to norms, really. The brain is plastic, as we know. The brain will take on whatever is put in front of it, basically, of what is real and what is not real. And so there are cultural norms, there are familial norms, there are political norms, there's all this other stuff. And it's just I think it's really important that we start to I think this is where the power lies. I don't know about you, Polly, but I think our power lies in realizing how we've subconsciously been indoctrinated into a belief system. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And I think, there's so much talk about, like look at, we have to basically unwind from what we've been taught. We have to find, and that's finding our personal truth, which is interesting. And that's a very that's a very well-known spiritual concept, is our personal truth. But it's and that is the piece where you unwind yourself from the way you've been taught. And it can be, I don't believe that it has to be this traumatic thing. I think it can just be, as soon as you start living the way that feels truthful to you, everything else falls away. And I think it's interesting because sometimes people believe that, seemingly people believe that to make this transition into finding your truth versus the way you've been brainwashed, if we want to use that, or taught or whatever, that has to be like this really jarring experience, and you leave the flock or whatever. I don't think it has to be. I think as you really do start listening to yourself, it can be quite gentle, right? Because if you're listening to yourself, all else falls away.
I agree with you. It doesn't have to be traumatic, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Yeah. Because I think that sometimes that when we have to face beliefs that we have or that we've taken on from our family, from the culture, or whatever, and it's very, 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 it can be incredibly intimidating and scary to look at it and go, maybe that's not right. And when we do that, which is kind of like in a way where you and I come in, it doesn't have to be traumatic, but a lot of times you got to turn around and you got to face something and go, okay, maybe, guess what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. And that is where it starts to change. I think our brain starts to change when you go, there might be something else that I don't know yet. Right?
I think you're right. I think the questioning, I think it's that moment of awareness where you question if something is of value for you to believe. I think it's that point that can be, because that upsets the apple cart. That upsets right? Like if you're raised a certain religion and all of a sudden you realize, I don't agree with that right there is jarring, because everything that you have based your life on is all of a sudden questioned, and you have to rebuild. And so it's that part that's like, you have to let go and kind of free fall into faith. And that is not easy. It's, and listen, especially if it's something like family or religion or something, you're free falling into a faith as you're walking away from your old faith, right?
Right. Totally.
That's so challenging.
It is challenging for sure. Let's see. Can you read a couple of those comments there?
Undoing what was never true to begin with. Yes.
And let's see. Christine says, even our spiritual practice is a form of brainwashing, but in a good way. That's a very interesting thing. I love that. I think you're right. You know what came up for me when you were talking, Polly, is that it's like when we realize that we have to question what we've believed in for so long, then do we have to rebuild, or do we have to sink into the truth?
Right. I personally think, but look at, everybody operates differently. Like, and I think you know me well enough that you've probably learned it's pretty easy for me to let go of stuff. Right. Yeah. So for me, it's really easy to just like done and fall into that place of truth. Right. But there are many people who don't have that, they hold on to stuff, and the people that hold on to stuff, it's, it's like they don't want to let go of something until they know they have something else. Right. And that is, and and we're all created differently. So, that's neither good nor bad, right?
Mhm.
Like, for example, it's, one of my gifts, we could say, is I can easily let go and move on. But in other ways, maybe I let go of crap I shouldn't, right? Well, not crap, but maybe I let go of stuff I shouldn't let go of, right? Like, because it's so easy for me to be like,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And other people are so loyal and attached to, but that's one of their gifts, is they are so loyal to people and things.
Yeah, yep, yep, yep. I love that. I love that. And then on the other end, that I'm thinking of, I'm just like picking out some words here that are interesting to just kind of like look at. Because I think you're right. It's kind of like it's a great thing to have a loyalty or feel committed or have that belief system that you stand by your friends or your
Yeah.
whatever it happens to be. But then also that form on the other side can be attachment, and attachment can keep us stuck.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I did use the word attach.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not calling you out on your words. I'm just like picking some up about our
Yeah. Oh,
brain.
no. No, it's absolutely right. But I think so. Here's the thing. I think brainwashing works. It's like, even like when we raise our children, we can say, some kid can hear from their teacher, "Oh, you're spectacular at math." That kid, that's like seeds in the garden, going to grow. Oh, I'm great at math. That's going to be their thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with, let's say somebody gets a reading,
Mm-hmm.
and the person tells them, your challenge in this life is going to be relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? They leave that reading thinking that they're going to be challenged in relationships.
That's right.
And every time something, some struggle occurs in a relationship, I know this is going to happen because I'm challenged in relationships.
It's
And so I
confirmed
think
it. Yeah, it confirms it.
it
Mm-hmm.
does. And so it's so important to compare the information you're getting from the outside world with how you feel internally.
I
So whether it's driving down the road and seeing somebody holding up a sign asking for food,
mm-hmm.
compare that to how you feel internally.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I still remember very, very, very clearly. I went to a psychic when I was probably a teenager, and it was on the Santa Monica Pier. And my friends and I were like there. This is when you didn't have to have your parents with you all the time, so you could take the bus and go to Santa Monica and go to the beach without your parents when you were like 12. Um, and my friends and I were like, let's go get a psychic reading. And there was this thing, and we walked in. My friend went first, and she came out, and it was like dark. And I walked in, and this woman looked at me, and she was like, and she looked at me straight in the eye, and she goes, never, ever ride a motorcycle. And I was like, oh. She's like, don't ride a motorcycle ever. And I was like, okay. And to this day, I've ridden like maybe 3 times in my life. And I am convinced that I should never ride a motorcycle. Where the statistics are that most people that ride motorcycles don't die. But and she had such power over my subconscious and brainwashed me right into that belief, that I'm still like, nah, I'd rather not ride the motorcycle.
Yeah.
I mean, you can think of things like that have been told to you. That's a psychic thing, but you've been told that have been carried out your whole life on some level, good or bad. Good or
Yeah.
bad.
I mean, I think it's just how it is. Look, that's just life. But I think the most important thing that we can do is match. I mean, you and I always say, or at least I say this, I know you agree, that if you're getting a reading or whatever, pay attention to the way you feel. If it doesn't if you don't feel good there, you don't like the messages, whatever, you walk away, or you just, if you've already paid, you just, whatever. But it's really like doing that with our life. Like, I think the way to, unlearn what we've learned is we can move through life and be like, look at, even overall in our life, how does the way I'm living my life match with the way I feel inside? Is it a good fit? Am I aligned with my purpose? Am I aligned with what my core values are? Am I aligned with my beliefs about myself?
And if you don't know what those are, then you become really, really susceptible to whatever comes around on some level, right? On some level, it's kind of like the whole thing. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. Have you ever heard that, Polly?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't really know yourself, and this is what we teach, how to really know yourself. What does Socrates say? Know thyself, know thyself. I want to kind of put something else in here because I think it's really not topical. It's what's happening in the world right now. But the whole idea of algorithms on social media. Because I think it's really, 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 can I say it again, really important for us to realize that algorithms on social media are going to continue to pull you into a brainwashing situation. I'm going to give you a we know about this, but I just want to say this really quickly. Yesterday, listen, I have gray hair, right? I have a gray beard. And so I'm starting to see all these ads on Instagram for natural beard coloring for men. And I was like, oh, yeah, I used to do that. I'm not really doing that right now, whatever. And then next day, a couple hours later, it goes again. And then there's 3. And then it's on Facebook. And then it's over on, and I'm like, okay, so this is so important to me. I can't even tell you. We are being manipulated by AI. And we have to stay really awake because we're being brainwashed. Because as soon as you click on one thing or you look at something for more than 5 seconds, this is so important to me, is that we go, wait a second, just because I looked at that QAnon thing for a second to watch it, to get information, I'm just saying QAnon's the buzzword. I think we have to stay really aware. And yeah, it's important to me. It's important to me. I just had to put that out there.
So, just out of curiosity, so do you think that they are seeing the gray beard thing because of the way you look, or you search something once momentarily?
In the last little while, I have not searched for any hair color at all. Probably maybe a long time ago. I don't need to search for hair color. I know it about hair color.
Okay.
So they're probably seeing that I'm a gray-haired person.
Okay, that's so interesting.
And this is so important. There's a documentary, Social Media, on Netflix you need to watch and everything, because we have to stay awake, because it's going to lure us back in. And then what it does is it keeps you in the bubble. It's so crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's so. Marcelina had the same question that I did about if it was from your physical looks or what you were searching. Well, I think the bottom line is when we compare the outside world, whether it's our feed on Instagram or whatever it is, if we compare the outside world to how we feel internally, and certainly monitor the outside influences, that's one way, is monitor what you are being exposed to. So you pay attention to who your friend group is. You pay, whatever we talk, that's a whole nother show.
Let's do a shoe show. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's. I do think that it's interesting because I think if you are not aligned with your true self, like where you are energetically inside, if your outside world doesn't match that, I do believe that we do get, there's more anxiety. We do get there, our body starts reacting, our mind starts reacting. You've got more stress. It's that whole thing. And so, some people are made, some people can handle those really intense, stressful jobs. Not everybody can, right? Mm-hmm. Not everybody likes to be under the pressure. Mm-hmm. And so to really pay attention to how you feel inside compared to your outside world.
I agree. Read what Marcelina on Facebook.
In some cases I can see how it's beneficial, like if you're interested in certain products or travel destinations, maybe check on privacy settings, say once a week, etc. Yeah,
I'm gonna put that up. I agree with you. I totally put that up on the screen so everyone can see it. All right, I agree with that. I just feel like, let's come back to brainwashing anyway. The spiritual brainwashing. This is what I always tell my students, and it's interesting. It's like I was thinking to myself, if I was ever caught for something horrible in my life, which I never would be, they'd be like, "You're brainwashing your students by saying this one thing." I say that the Course in Miracles uses your mind to help you get out of your mind. And I could see that being used kind of against me as like, oh, he's brainwashing them. He's brainwashing them. And I always say, and I'm honest, I'm like, most of our brains need to be washed because they're full of fear. They're full of doubt. They're full of insanity. They're full of, all that stuff. So it's interesting, especially in this world that you and I are in, and that most of the people are watching are interested in, is that we do have to. Brainwashing is a harsh word, but it's important that we understand it's what they say in in Alcoholics Anonymous. Your best thinking got you here. So you have to change your thinking.
Yeah. Well, and I think because you know me, I like the Simple Simon path. I think say you have a spiritual teacher, you don't have, whatever you are exposing yourself to, compare it, check it. How does it feel to you? How does it make you feel inside? And look, there are going to be things throughout our day, throughout our week that that aren't necessarily a match. And so you register, like acknowledge that and be like, great, I know this isn't a fit for me. I'm moving on. Or how can I let some of this go? Sometimes it might be something that it's not so easy to let go of the entire, say you're in a career that's just like, I can't do it anymore. So maybe you can't let that career go all at once, but what you can do is you can stop reacting to part of it. You can start looking for other alternatives. You can't, maybe there's somebody you can like avoid in your career setting. So you might not be able to make that change right away, but you can over time.
You can. And not forsake yourself. I think that's such a big thing. Not forsaking yourself is kind of what you're talking about. Knowing who you are, what you believe in, what feels right to you. And I'm going to come back to the gray hair situation, is that what I noticed, I was like going, oh, let's see how this is manipulating me or not. And I was noticing it. Like, I see all these guys like my age, like rubbing the color on their beard. And then they're like, whoa, look how great it is. Me. And it's just like everything that women have had to deal with forever. And now, now what's also being shown for me is, oh, guys, they call it a magic stick instead of concealer, because they're like, ooh, you could use a magic stick for guys. And so it's interesting because I was looking at the gray stuff, and there was a moment where I was like, maybe I should dye this. I was like, no, you don't want to dye it. You don't want to dye it, Max. Why are you? Because it lulled me into that thing. We have to stay awake. That's so important. So important, right? Yeah. And that comes back to knowing who you are and what you need and what you want. Your point exactly.
Marcelina has said something funny about she bought into the essential oil culture. And what's funny about that, it was the same company that she was dipping her toes in. You remember when we did that one event and I bought some essential oils, and I was like, I bought a selection and I was going to sell them, like in case anybody wanted them.
I remember.
And I remember like they smelled so bad. Like I was like, oh God, I just want to donate these and get rid of them because they were so horrible.
And you're so right. And I think, like what Marcy's saying, what I'm saying, what you're saying is really powerful. Admit when you've been duped. Yeah. Admit when you've been, when you've closed your eyes for a moment and gone, well, maybe. Yeah. But open your eyes back up and go, wait a second, this doesn't, oh my God. And so I think that that's really important, because that's part of being human is that we're going to get, let's use the word, brainwashed. We're going to get brainwashed on some level. So just the the problem is if you don't know you're getting brainwashed.
Right. And I think it's like, I often talk about, take chances because that's part of life. We get to choose and choose again. And I think that that's so good. And maybe, see how far you have to go down the road before you decide, no, this isn't a good fit for me. But to always know that you know how they do fact checking in the political world? Do your fact check. Well, it's not fact, but do your energetic check. How does it feel? Right? And eventually you'll get to a point where you're like, no, this is not a good fit.
That's right. I agree with you.
Or it's a great fit. I'm going to do this more.
And let's come back to the social media algorithm thing really quickly, because I agree with you. Do your research. But be really careful, because the algorithm, if you start doing your research on Facebook, it's going to show you stuff that's going to keep pushing that one thing. Go to outside sources, go to experts, go to research. If it's about oils, let's just say it's oils, whatever. Go research the people that literally start, not in the multi-level marketing world, that really did it, so you can really read it. This is why I go back to classics all the time. So I think that you're exactly right, but be careful. Don't do research like, I'm going to research on Facebook.
Well, no, I think it's...
Hi, Bobby, I'm good. Good to see you.
I think it's really, I mean, for me, the highest level of research is comparing it to how it feels inside. Like, how do I feel internally about it, right? That's the highest form of research, in my opinion. And, limiting, it's the same thing, like the way you're talking about with Facebook and the algorithms. Look at law of attraction, the same thing. It's the same thing with the universe, right? Because say I'm thinking about, well, I don't like the way that guy addressed global warming, or and what I didn't like about it was X, Y, and Z. Guess what's going to happen today? I'm going to be driving down the road and I'm going to see X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to go into a store and see X, Y, and Z. So it's the same thing, right?
That's right, for sure. Hi, Bobby. Good to see you. If you're just coming in, it's great to see you. We're kind of wrapping up our discussion. Definitely watch, because I think it's pretty good. We are talking about brainwashing today. We're talking about brainwashing and how we are culturally, familiarly brainwashed, and also if we can get out of brainwashing. We didn't even cover this yet, actually, is, the deprogramming thing. Right, because there's a lot of talk about that right now too. This whole idea about people with certain things, I'm not going to say what they are, certain beliefs that fall into kind of a cult kind of thing, and they need to be deprogrammed. So I think that addresses your thing about coming back to what you feel. But I'm going to put a caveat to that. But if you've been brainwashed, it affects how you feel.
See, I don't know, because I believe, like, if you're really paying attention to the way you feel, like that, you know what I mean, Max, that truest self, right? That truest self that you've had from birth. Right. And if you compare that truest self to anything outside of you, are they aligned? Right? But I will acknowledge that I don't know. I mean, that truest self is available to all of us, but if you are not used to tapping into it, say you don't have a meditation practice, you're not used to listening to it, you listen to the outside world. Yeah, it's more challenging, but you can still find it, and find a group, find somebody that can help you connect with your truest self.
Right, and that's so interesting, because now it's like the paradox of everything, all great truth, is that you have to brainwash yourself to get unbrainwashed on some level, because you have to use a whole new part of you that you don't even know. You don't even know that yet. So you have to be learned, you have to be taught how to trust the truth of who you are, so that you're not influenced by all your past programming. So it's like you got to be brainwashed to be brainwashed, to get.
Yeah, but see,
I know, you know,
I don't consider that truest self. I don't consider that brainwashing.
I don't either. Of course, I don't.
I mean, that truest self
That's
is
what
that.
came back to what I was saying about we don't need to rebuild anything. We need to sink into our truth.
Yeah, that truest self is,
True.
you can put somebody on the moon, you can put somebody wherever, and that if they can connect to that truest self, they're going to be okay. They will always find their way home.
But don't you, but what you do and I do with especially our private students is that we're in the process with them of, I'll just say it, we're helping to deprogramming all their false beliefs about who they are and what they think God is and the world is, so that they can come back to their truth. Isn't that what we do?
Yeah, and I think, and it's so interesting because you know how I'm like, just like if you're at point A and you want to get to point B, you do it, right? And so you're much more of the hand holder and do these little processes. And for me, it's like, because that's just how I think and how I operate, right? And so I'm very much this very direct. I know where my truest self is, and I know everybody has it. And so I will help you connect to it. But I'm like, we don't have to it doesn't take 100 steps, maybe 2 steps, right? And that's the interesting, I think that's the interesting thing, because people have overcomplicated.
I agree.
Overcomplicated your connection to the universe, overcomplicated your connection to source.
I agree. I totally agree. It is far too complicated. It's actually really super, super simple. But it's the whole idea about, in Eastern religions, they call it the unraveling of the knot of suffering. So the knot of suffering needs to start to be unraveled. And then something happens where you go, oh my God, it's so easy.
Yes.
But while you're in that brainwashed space, it has to be unraveled, and you've got to everyone's different. I mean, everyone's different. But I love this topic because I think it's really important for us to look at, because I've been brainwashed. You've been brainwashed. We've all been brainwashed on some level. But what are we doing with it, and how aware we are about it?
Yeah.
Right. I love, Bobby says, less exposed to media you are, less brainwashing. I agree with you. What did Marcy say there, Polly?
Maybe a lot. These people have recently been politically brainwashed, had to go through that in order to find the true self, as you guys are talking about. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, we can say that people have, because for example, last night my husband and I were talking about something, and I was saying that I do believe that we come in to learn certain things, right? And so we are predisposed to certain experiences for those lessons, right? And so some of those, I don't know. I mean, I think that, and I've said this, like I wrote a blog about this before. I think sometimes we hide behind being human, right? We hide behind things and we're saying, well, I'm only human. I don't know. I mean, I think that we're human, but we're so much more than human. And I
agree with you. I
think honestly, cut the crap out, and you know what you feel like inside.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think that's true. I think that the ego can use that as an excuse. And one of the things that I hear a lot, and then we kind of need to wrap up, is that well, I'm a work in progress. Well, I'm a work in progress. Well, I'm a work in progress. And right. I understand the progress thing, and I understand it. I get that. But I feel like a lot of times it's the same idea. We have this thing of like, we don't have enough belief and trust in ourselves that we can just be like, okay, I'm done with it. Right? You have to hold on one second, because I have to deal with my cats. Excuse me. You're the culprit. And we're gonna show the culprit's face on TV. Hello. Boom. Sorry, my name is Velma, and I tear down blinds. My name is Velma. I tear down blinds, but we love you. Okay, that was it. I had to stop her before the before the blinds came tumbling down. But yeah, I think that you're right. I think that that's just another brainwashing thing. There's like, well, I'm just starting. I'm da da da. At some point, you have to go like, no.
Well,
I'm
look
stronger
at
than I even believe I am. I'm more trusting than I even think I am. Right?
we are capable of we're capable of so much more than we see ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Because of
Sometimes
whatever.
like a lot.
And maybe that's the piece is like, if we dedicated this show to helping people realize and really connect to their strengths, to the ability to move beyond the brainwashing, right? Because you really are capable of connecting to that truth
Uh-huh.
and living that truth.
That's right. I agree. I'm not publicly shaming. I just want to say, everyone, I'm not publicly shaming Velma. I'm just stopping her from pulling down the blinds, and now she's on my desk, so it's all good. Sorry. I think that's the clue that we have to wrap up.
Yeah, perfect.
What do you want to say in wrapping up there, Polly? While I pull
You can learn more about me on my website, on Instagram, Polly_Wyram, and my blogs. I have a new one coming out Wednesday. So if you go to my website, pollywyram.com, you can sign up for my newsletter. It will also be on soulspring.org.
Nice.
And I do readings and spiritual life coaching also.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's incredible. And then definitely, I'm doing this on here, but follow Polly on her HAPS channel too. And also everyone follow us on, we're going to get back into it, but on Instagram, The Positive Principle Show. At The Positive Principle Show, you can follow me on Instagram at Attract Positive Results. You can go to attractpositiveresults.com and sign up for my newsletter, which I do once a week. I'm trying to not inundate you with things, but I'm also on Clubhouse, and I also am having a cat that's attacking my feet right now, which I love. And that's it. But we're here every Tuesday at this time, okay, I'm done with that. Thank you. I'm here on HAPS Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I think that's it. Anything anyone want to say before we go? Anybody? Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say that I'm starting. So, I was like, I had to take a while to figure out how am I going to use this HAPS channel besides what I do with Max. And I'm actually starting something. I think the first show will be maybe February 17th, I think. And where I'm going to be interviewing spiritual teachers and people that live inspirational lives. And so, of course, I will have my good friend Max Ryan interviewed on one of them. But the name of the show is The Greatest Message. And at the end of every interview, the guest will share their greatest message. And so we will find out Max's greatest message.
That's awesome. Definitely. I'm excited about that. About that. And Velma's giving you a high five, Polly. High five, Polly. Woo. All right, everybody. I'll see you here tomorrow. We're going to do Course in Miracles teaching. And other than that, have an incredible day and try to stay in a vibration that feels calm and beautiful. And we love you. Right, Polly?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.